Hi there.
Hi, welcome back to Curious Collection. I'm Will.
I'm Cinnamon.
So I quit my job and started reselling on eBay because I absolutely hated the work I was doing. And so we're going to do a two-part series. We're going to do my background, my history, how we got here. And then tomorrow we'll do a video and we're going to talk about your experience in the workforce and how you got to the same place and how we did it together. So I'm going to start out with, directly after school, I started working in a retailer and very quickly ascended the managerial chain and found great success in that, but I didn't find fulfillment. So I started a business with a family member. So first and foremost, worst decision you can make, borrowing money from family or starting a business with family. So it's not good for family relationships.
No.
There's inevitably going to be conflict there. So it didn't work. And actually it worked in a spectacular failure. And that at the end of a couple years in this business, I owed the IRS $28,000 in taxes.
But you were also very young.
I was young. And again,
to start a business at 20 years old?
I was in my young 20s. So again, we had some good success. We were in business for a little while. We did $400 the last year. We were in $400,000 the last year we were in business in sales. But like I said, we were struggling. I was not working in the office. I was not in charge of the accounting and stuff like that. I still take responsibility for it because when that business failed, I ended up going back to that retail job that I had before. And, I knew I had success there. I knew that was an opportunity for me to kind of get my life back together and get things back on track and earn enough money to cover that $28,000 tax bill. So in my mind, it was a 2-year obligation. I had to pay back the IRS. They require all outstanding balances to be paid within 2 years. And I was going to go start another business. Just had to get that taken care of. 2 years and I was out. 10 years later, we got together. Well,
no,
not
I
quite
guess
10.
Just 5. Yeah,
maybe
we've
5
been
years
together
later.
A minute.
Okay, so maybe 5 years later, I had taken care of the obligation, fulfilled my legal duty to the IRS, paid every penny back, and again got my life back on track, paying my taxes regularly. I'm a good Boy Scout. I follow the law and all of my obligations. So I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah, because they totally thought that you were a rebel. And...
Well, I don't know what they just thought I owed them money and they wanted it. And I don't want them to come back and say, hey, you didn't pay me my money. I paid it for sure. And so I got caught up in that money game that so many people get caught up in. So
right, because then you needed to have a new truck and you needed to have
So I did. I bought a new truck. I had a $600 car payment on that. Of course, the car insurance to go with it. And then, I'm in my late 20s and I decided to buy a house by myself. And, I'm making good money at that time. I was working in management. I was making mid-70s. And we got together, started dating, got married, had a child. And you were at home with our youngest child and trying to basically raise him as a single parent because I'm spending 12 hours a day or more, 6 days a week working in my management job because it was what the job required. It's not because it was my decision. It's because that's what the job required. And so I felt this heartbreak and aggravation, right? Like I used to like the job up until the point where it was pulling me away from my family. And I think the big breaking point was that there was a period where you were in the process of taking your mom to some medical stuff. And so I would come home from work. You were out taking care of your mother. I would go to bed. You'd get home after I'd gone to bed. I was up at 3 a.m. to go to work. And there was 2 weeks straight that I literally did not see you or the kids. And that was really hard. And so I decided I had to start pulling back from that. It was too much. And it was it was the beginning of the end for me at that employment.
Yeah. Well, because okay, then you started missing first steps, and then you start, and first words, and there was
Right.
a lot going on.
Right. So that was the beginning of, like I said, the beginning of the end for me. And I'm missing things. Life at work is a challenge, as always. If you find a job that's not challenging you, you're probably in the wrong career path. But and then things at home were challenging, and not having the time to be able to resolve that on either side made it impossible. So I kind of backed off the work thing, and what I found was that it never resolved. There was never a sense of fulfillment. I was still going to work at 3 a.m. Maybe I'm getting home at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but it was a much more physical job, not being involved in management. And I didn't like that. It was retail, so I'm working every weekend, because if you work in retail, you don't get weekends off. Weekends are the busy time.
Right.
It's much like our eBay business. That's when we get our sales. So every weekend was work. I'd get random days off during the week that really didn't necessarily make any sense to anybody, except, clearly the industry. And so as I was approaching my 40th birthday, I said, I can't do this anymore. December of 2019. And I said, I cannot continue this working in this industry. I knew that if I made it to April, I'd get a bonus check for completing that cycle, that year, and I was going to quit. And so we started planning then, in December of 2019, the exit strategy. So January comes around, 2020, I start working on reselling. I start building up an eBay store. We start flipping some small things here and there. And of course, we initially started, seeing a little bit of success, and that success grew. And we were in this unique opportunity that we were able to build, just constantly, reinvesting. We didn't need to take money out. So the first 9 months of me reselling by myself, because you were there, but you weren't actually doing it with me.
No, I wasn't.
We were in a position where we were able to just reinvest the money from the previous sale. So that's really how we got there. April came and gone. We decided that, I put in the notice and I quit, and it was such a mixed emotion for me, leaving this job that I couldn't stand, because it was taking me away from my family and putting me into situations where they would make you choose. Do you, spend the moments with your family, or do you go to work and earn the paycheck? Do you, there was a time when you were going to school, and I explained them, look, my wife's going to school. This is a 24-hour operation here. Is there any way I can get on a different shift while you're going to school to make it a little bit easier on the household? And the only thing that they would do to accommodate that is they told me that I'd have to take a pay cut. I'd have to go down to part-time and work 20 hours a week. And so that's what I did, because again, that's the inflexibility of the workplace nowadays. There's no flexibility. It's all about them and their needs. Nothing reciprocal about that, right? There's no concern. Hey, you know what? We've got a great employee that's got all this experience, all this knowledge, and will, literally work themselves to death for you. It's, what are my needs? Are my needs being met without any consideration for the employees? So, during that process in 2020, we had the opportunity to buy the house that we live in today and sell the house that we had previously. And it worked out very well, in that we were able to sell the house. We had a little bit of equity in it. We had owned it for 15 years, enough equity that we were able to downgrade to a house that was a quarter the value and buy the house that we're in today. And we were able to pay cash for that. So that's why we have popcorn ceilings and we have that 1970s wood paneling, because we decided a long time ago now that we were willing to make the sacrifices in our lifestyle to be able to spend more time with each other, more time with our children. And the money for us didn't matter. The nice new vehicle didn't matter. The location, the lake house didn't matter anymore. It was really, and it really has been the whole time, is how do we get to spend more time doing the things that we enjoy?
Mm-hmm.
So, there are certainly sacrifices that have had to been made during that process.
Absolutely.
We gave up probably half of our income to do more.
Way more.
Well, okay, so we've had to give up more than half.
2/3 of our income. Okay.
So, we've certainly had to make sacrifices. We don't drive new cars anymore. Your car we just got
2010.
Yeah. Is it a 10? Okay, so it's 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My vehicle is 17 years old. And our house is older than us. And like I said, popcorn ceilings and wood paneling. So, and we live in a less desirable part of town.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We don't live in that prestigious, the house we had before was small, but it was like right off the golf course and right by the, as a single guy buying it, I thought it was everything. But, now I've moved on in my life and my perceptions have changed. It said, it's more important to be able to spend time doing what I love with my family
mm-hmm.
than, trying to impress the neighbors, trying to impress the people I work with. It's
and
just
honestly,
really been...
when you work that much anyway, what are you impressing? Because you never even see your home.
Right.
There were so many days that you would leave at 3 a.m. You wouldn't come home until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'd come home, you'd still have more work to do. Mm-hmm. So you'd be sitting there trying to do reports and the kids are excited to see you, but no, because dad's working. So, we got to let him work. And then it was time for dinner. And then you had to go to bed at 7 because you got up at 3.
Yeah.
So that was the life that we led for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that it is hard because I kind of like you and I like us. So, when you get to see each other for 3 hours, but of those 3 hours, it's still all work,
mm-hmm.
So that certainly isn't great for any relationship. And then, add on the whole new parents and, it was a lot.
New marriage, new parents.
Yeah.
A lot of challenges there. And, I still kind of look at it and I'm I didn't want to necessarily give up the money, right? Mm-hmm. Who couldn't use more money in their lives, right?
Right.
But I think that some of the sacrifices that we've had to make far exceed the life that I had to live at that point in time just to dig us out. And that's why we also talk about why it's so important to live debt free, mm-hmm. because, again, I got into that situation because I had IRS debt. And then once I took care of that, I just dug myself another hole and decided to borrow a bunch of money for a car and a house and all of the normal stuff.
Yeah, because you got to have good credit so that you can,
borrow more money.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So it really did. It really just turned into this monster that had to be fed and mm-hmm. was consuming my soul in order to feed that debt monster and live a lifestyle that I really didn't even want.
Yeah.
It turns out.
Well, and the lifestyle that you think that you're gonna live when you're using credit cards is so scary because it's not reality. We were never balling. It was still an emergency every time the kids needed shoes or there was a field trip that we weren't prepared for,
right.
or
a medical bill that would take months to pay off, and
all of it. They were all emergencies mm-hmm. because we didn't have anything budgeted except bills. That was it.
Right.
That's all you can do is budget bills. And then all of the emergencies that happen that aren't actually emergencies, they should have been budgeted, but young and dumb, all that fun
mm-hmm.
stuff.
Yeah. So, now we're in this position. I've been reselling since January of 2020 as a full-time job. And so again, that's where all of my income has come from since January of 2020.
Well, and I think it's important to talk about like your full time, like when you were started working here full time, and the fact that you did put in so much time and energy for months and months and months.
Right. So again, we started in January 2020.
Mm-hmm.
It was August before I was able to pay myself the first check. And I paid myself $1,000, and I paid myself $1,000 a month for the first 20 months, basically, that I was for the next, so basically the first 2 years, after I hit that first, whatever it was basically until you started working with me that I started paying myself more. So, what was that? October of 2023?
Yeah.
2022.
No, 2022.
So, yeah. So it was about 14 months. I paid myself $1,000 a month. So it has not been this rocket ship to the stars. And that's not our goal. So our goal is to not be $1 million sales resellers. I don't want to have employees. I've done that path. I had employees when I worked in corporate management. I had employees when I had my other business. That's not my goal. That's not what's going to give me pleasure, is to have people working for me. I want to be responsible. I want to be self-sufficient, and I want to be able to just take care of my family. And so that's what we're about on our channel, is small, efficient, things that you can legitimately find in your neighborhood. Because we're not going out and finding, $5,000 sunglasses or handbags or Rolex watches.
No, like, and honestly, if we come across a handbag, it's going to be a fake.
It's always fake.
it's always a fake. It's going to be a fake. Like even no, just no.
They're always fake.
Not here. No.
Yeah, you got to peel off the Made in China labels. So basically that's how we got to this point. Is I hated my job. I hated that it took me away from my family. And so now I just want to do something that I enjoy. And if it means sacrificing to get there, then I am all in. I am sold on this. I'm not going to give it up for anything. And it's also why we choose not to sell certain categories, because if we don't enjoy it, we're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
I've worked that far too long in my life doing things I don't like just to pay the bills, that I will just not have the bills, if that's what it means. So yeah, that's kind of the direction that we've been heading for a long time. Yeah, it's been a very long adventure down that road of if that bill's not worth it to me, we're just not going to have that bill. So that's how I got to this point in my life. Tune in tomorrow and we'll hear about Cinnamon's story. And I want to know about you guys. How did you get here? What are your goals in reselling? Are you looking to replace your entire household income like we did? Are you looking to supplement your retirement income? Are you looking for some side money as a teenager or as a college student? Because, that could certainly work.
Right, or a stay-at-home mom. For a while there, I was staying at home with kids, and honestly, I don't know that I would have been able to run this kind of a business if, when I was staying at home with the kids. Yeah. Like, let's be real. But that might be something that you're better at than I am. So
yeah. So tell us your story, comment down below, like and subscribe.
All right. Thanks so much. Good luck to you guys out there.